there's an arrogance, there's a belief that they're both superior to what they've been convicted of and the criminal justice process they've gone through.
Would you want to make any comment, Doctor? No comment.
Shipman and Norris shared some characteristics. Both could be charming when they wanted to be, and both had a problem with authority. Shipman preferred to work alone in his own practice, while Norris frequently clashed with his bosses.
He had trouble with some supervisors because he had trouble with authority. He didn't like being told what to do. We know there was instances with his tutors where it was quite clear that he was manipulative. He'd been playing one tutor off against the other, and he'd got quite aggressive and nasty and sworn at people.
Neither Shipman nor Norris ever admitted to murdering their patients, and so we can only guess why they did it. But after watching both their police interviews, Dr. Richard Badcock believes that Norris was a psychopath who killed patients simply because they got in his way.
I don't think there's any indication that Mr. Norris's killings were done for deep-seated reasons, as it were. They seem to have been done more for casual, fairly immediate gratification. There's no indication that that there was any elaborate fantasizing associated with it, or that he was inducing hypoglycemia because he wanted to be seen as a hero coming to the rescue.
We know that some of the victims in our case were quite demanding. One of the ladies in particular could be aggressive on occasions. They were always falling out of bed, needed the beds changing, etc., etc. So that might be a reason why, if he thought, well, you know, they take up too much of my time, that might be a motive for him to kill them. Who knows?
What the motivation is, only Colin Norris would know. But I think it's something as simple as he found elderly patients irritating. We know he didn't like the placements in the geriatric units and the wards, and so something simple like just throwing bed covers off was enough to set him going.
But whatever his motivation, Norris's actions had a profound effect on his victims' families.
After Mum was attacked, my father's health deteriorated through the stress of the situation. He had another heart attack, and he needs support now. He's a dangerous person that knows how to murder, but make it very difficult to prove. I think he needs to be kept inside.
Norris killed 4 patients and tried to kill a 5th in his first year of working as a nurse. If he'd continued at that rate throughout his career, he could have been as big a serial killer as Harold Shipman.
I'm convinced that if Colin Norris hadn't have been stopped in his tracks, then he would have developed into being a serial killer of immense proportions. Within 6 months, he'd killed 4 and attempted to kill another elderly patient. He was becoming so confident and skilled in his own mind, in his killing craft, that he thought he could kill with impunity, and he was doing. He was killing in an environment where he was confident, he had the opportunity, he was dealing with vulnerable elderly patients who were confused. And he was using all these things to do what he enjoyed doing, because I'm convinced he enjoyed killing people.
I think it's likely that Mr. Norris would have gone on killing. I don't know how many further deaths there would have actually been, because his approach to it was sort of casual. Because the patients were annoying him, or because he was feeling irritated, or he felt they were impinging on his life in an unfair way.
To secure a conviction against Colin Norris, tens of thousands of documents had to be examined. Only when the information they contained was systematically analysed did police uncover the evidence they needed. That work stopped Norris when the number of his victims was still in single figures, unlike the scores attacked by Harold Shipman. But when people place their lives in the hands of medical professionals, can we ever really prevent a rogue doctor or nurse hurting those they're supposed to be caring for?
Unfortunately, there are criminals at work in lots of trusted organisations, and the medical profession is no exception to that. So whilst we stopped Colin Norris in his tracks, Shipman wasn't stopped in his tracks. Could it happen again? Possibly could.
8 years after Shipman was jailed, Colin Norris's conviction had dealt the medical profession another shattering blow. And apart from the relatives of his victims, no one was more outraged than those who'd worked alongside him.
Very sad that patients died in our care, because I have a sense that we failed those patients. I personally apologise to the family. He used the position in which he was in, he used that position of trust to kill people. I can't conceive of a worse crime.
The emergency services are highlighted and followed. Steve Scott's back with Night Watch next.